Hey guys, the second unit we're going to take a look at studying is all about expressions. So let's first take a look and define what is an expression. So an expression is a math phrase that contains numbers, variables, and or operations. So it doesn't necessarily have to have all three, but it does contain most often numbers, variables, and or operations. The most important thing to know about an expression is, again, it's a phrase. It doesn't have an equal sign. And they're used to show the relationship between different values. So taking a look at some examples here of expressions, 4x plus 7, 7 times the quantity 82 minus 5, 10 minus 16y, 3 plus negative 9 minus 15, 1/3 x plus 7, negative 12 plus 15 times 2. So again, those are all examples of expressions, and they contain numbers, variables, and or operations. All right, so there's two specific types of expressions that we work with in math. The first being a numerical expression. Numerical expressions contain numbers only. Numerical, if you look, you can kind of see the word numbers in there. So again, it's a phrase that contains numbers only, and it has at least one operation. So we're not talking about just a single number. We're looking at numbers that are joined together by operations. So kind of looking at those examples that we reviewed on the first page, which would be examples that fit this description. So we're going to go through and highlight these. So looking at this first one, 4x minus or plus 7. This actually has a variable, right? You see that x? Because it has a variable, it is not considered a numerical expression. Looking at the second one, 7 times the quantity 82 minus 5. This one is definitely a numerical expression. It only has numbers and it contains operations. Looking at the third example, you should see that y right away. That's a deal breaker. It cannot have a variable. 3 plus negative 9 minus 15. That would be an example of a numerical expression because, again, it only contains numbers and it has operations joining those numbers. Of the last two here, 1/3 x, oh, that's taboo. We can't have a variable. That is not a numerical expression. This last one, negative 12 plus 15 times 2, only numbers and operations. That, again, is a type of expression that is numerical. Okay, the second type of expression that we're going to take a look at is a variable expression. These phrases contain numbers and variables, along with operations, again, to join those separate terms. So just to kind of also expand, again, variable expression, it contains variables. It's in the name, guys, so hopefully you're able to see the connection. And just to kind of define variables again, you've worked with these in algebra. They are a letter that you're going to see in the expression that's used to represent or stand in for a number. Okay, looking at those examples again that we reviewed on the first page, here they are. So which ones would be which ones would be variable expressions? They are the ones with the variables, the letters. So going through, hopefully you can identify 4x plus 7. Again, there is that variable x that makes it a variable expression. The second one we said was numerical. It only has numbers. The third one here, we have 10 minus 16y. Oh, that y, again, is what categorizes it as a variable expression. The bottom three, this one's just numbers, so it's numerical. This one in the middle on the bottom, you should notice that x value, so again, it would be considered a variable expression. And this last one we categorized, it was numerical. It only has numbers. All right, so let's take a minute and just do some quick practice together. So of these, I want to know which is not an expression. Okay, so take a minute, look at these first three options. Which is not an expression? Remember, we're looking at phrases in math that can contain numbers, letters, and operations, but not an equal sign. So those first three examples there, this would be the one that is not an expression because it has an equal sign. Okay, moving on down a little bit farther there. Oop. Which one is not an expression in these problems? Hopefully you came on down to the third option. 5 equals 10 minus 5. Although that's true, it's not an expression because, again, it has an equal sign. Which is not an expression in these ones? Hopefully you found our pattern here. Again, this first option, 2.2 equals 3.4 minus 1.2, it is not an expression because, again, it's got an equal sign. And we know that expressions do not have an equal sign. Okay, last but not least, this is a little bit trickier. Which one is not an expression? Hopefully you play the which one is not like the other game a little bit, and 7 is not an expression. We're looking for a phrase, so something more than one term that's connected by operations. All right, let's take a look at identifying whether something is numerical or a variable expression. So again, numerical are just numbers. Variable expressions contain variables. We're looking for letters. So let's practice. So in this first one, I want you to find the numerical expression. All right, numerical means just numbers. This one in the middle has just numbers connected by operations. So hopefully you got that right. Okay, let's try another example of numerical expressions. So taking a look at these three options, which one is numerical? And there's a trick in there a little bit. So take your time in looking. It has to have all numbers and expression. All right, so hopefully you were able to narrow down to these two options. So kind of look at them closely. Which one is an expression? They both contain just numbers, but this one on the middle has an equal sign. So this is taboo. This is like a deal breaker. So it cannot be the middle option. Our numerical expression would be this back one, 3 minus 2 plus 10. We've got numbers joined by operations. All right, let's try some variable expressions. So remember, variable expressions have letters, they have numbers, and again, an expression cannot contain an equal sign. So take a minute, look through those three options. Which one is a variable expression? Hopefully you're going between these first two options. Both contain variables. It is the middle one because an expression does not have an equal sign. So hopefully you got that one right. Okay, and the last practice together here, let's look at these three examples, and I want you to find the variable expression. All right, so for this last one, there actually was two, and I didn't mean for that, made an error, but hopefully you can see that both of these are variable expressions. They have letters and they also have operations, but no equal sign, making it an expression. So hopefully after watching this video, you had a quick refresher of what an expression is, and then looking at those two distinct types of expressions. All right, good luck on the assignment. It's very similar to what we just did in the practice activities. Reach out if you need help.